Professor Dr. Karbhari Kale, Vice Chancellor Savitribai Phule Pune University, Professor Dr. Vijay Khare, Dean, Faculty of Humanities and Head, Department of Defense and Strategic Studies, Dr. Jaydev Ranade, President, Center for China Analysis and Strategy, distinguished scholars, esteemed guests, veterans, colleagues in uniform, students of SPPU, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon and Jai Hind to each one of you. It's always good to be back here in Pune and a privilege to speak at this esteemed institution which honors and upholds the values of Savitribai Phule, who devoted her life to promoting women's rights and empowerment. Her noble pursuits truly embodied the ideals of our present-day Nari Shakti initiatives. She indeed was a visionary ahead of her times. My compliments to Mr. Jaydev Ranade of the Center for China Analysis and Strategy, which has been pioneering study, research and analysis on China. Your role in providing insights into China's military capabilities, modernization and strategic thoughts is indeed noteworthy and commendable. For today's talk on the theme of rise of China and its implications for the world, I intend to share my thoughts firstly on the overall strategic context in which China's rise needs to be seen. Secondly, I'll focus on China's rise per se, followed by implications of China's rise on a regional and operational environment, and finally, how are we addressing this challenge? So let me begin with the overall strategic context. In today's world, geoeconomics continues as the lead driver of geopolitical shifts. Complex global relationships are taking shape, driven by an interplay of interest, concerns, and aspirations. The resultant power plays range from cooperation to competition and containment to confrontational strategies. Consequently, strategic linkages are being redrawn as interest-based alliances. Traditional partnerships are under stress due to cost, duration, and the level of support. The bottom line in all these parlays reflect the primacy of one's national interests. The ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict has only added to the turbulence in the landscape, with many aspects emerging profoundly in the geopolitical security calculus. The relevance of hard power has been reaffirmed, along with the primacy of land in determining victory markers and the imperative to be prepared for the long haul. But for the nuclear domain, the saber rattling for which did figure for some time, the war has spanned the entire spectrum of conflict, with grey zone aggression factored in as an increasingly preferred strategy of conflict prosecution. This conflict, in fact, has been a watershed for technology, which has emerged as the new strategic arena of geopolitical competition. Concurrent developments in disruptive and dual-use technologies like quantum computing, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, 3D printing, robotic exoskeletons, along with the progression in kinetic instruments like hypersonic weapons, high-power lasers, swarm drones, autonomous systems, manned, unmanned teams, etc., are making the battle space more complex, contested, and lethal. South Asia is one of the least economically integrated entities in the world, resulting in security and economic imbalances in the region. We may visualize our immediate strategic neighborhood as an arc of uncertainty. Unresolved border disputes, both territorial as well as maritime, illegal cross-border migration, transnational crimes, non-traditional threats such as illegal and unregulated fishing, piracy, and increasing religious fundamentalism, coupled with regional vulnerabilities to climate change-induced disasters, are going to keep the South Asian region in a flux. These manifestations certainly have an impact on our national security. It is amidst this background that China's rise continues. It is driven by its regional and global aspirations, as also impacted by dynamics. Let me briefly dwell on the relevant markers of the rise of China. China's rise as a political, technological, and military power has accorded it a new hierarchical position in the world order which it intends to lead. China's strides as a political powerhouse are evident in its pursuits for a much larger and higher seat on the high table. Brokering of peace talks between Saudi Arabia and Iran and putting forth the Chinese 12-point peace plan for ending the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict is reflective of a Chinese urgency to replace US as the global net security provider. It is also attempting to gain clout in international organizations which were traditionally dominated by Western nations. The means, though, remain through steady acquisition of key official positions, use of economic leverages, and aggressive wolf warrior diplomacy or bullying tactics. China advocates its political system as a democracy that works, distinct from Western practices of democracy. It defines this as social democracy. The prosperity quotient of Chinese citizens, their higher requirements of material and cultural life, and the economic heft of the nation today are put forth as proof of efficiency of their model. The essence of their belief in the same is reflected in the words of Xi Jinping, and I quote, "We have every confidence that we can give full play to the strengths and distinctive features of Chinese socialist democracy and make China's contribution to the political advancement of mankind," unquote. Its multi-pronged strategy entails, on the one hand, support to international institutions and agreements that seem aligned to its goals and norms, yet on issues of divergence such as human rights, it seeks to undermine such values and create alternative institutions and models. In domains where norms and institutions are still being established, such as internet governance, it works with like-minded regimes to create standards that reflect their interests. The era wherein Deng Xiaoping propounded hide your strength and bide your time is indeed over. In fact, the work report presented by Xi Jinping at the 20th Party Congress in October last year is a first-hand account of China's approach on everything from economic policy to diplomacy in pursuit of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. A key takeaway was China's willingness to use force to incorporate Taiwan into the People's Republic, which was unambiguously articulated in the document as, and I quote, "We will never promise to renounce the use of force, and we reserve the option of taking all measures necessary," unquote. In effect, all its actions on the global geopolitical canvas reflect a Sino-centrist worldview, of it being the Middle Kingdom, and therefore rightly deserves to be seen as the cultural, political, and economic center of the world. China's growth in the economic domain is unprecedented. Within a few decades of initiating widespread reforms, it transitioned from a largely agrarian economy into a world leader in manufacturing and services sector. Due to its industrial prowess, it had also earned a name for itself as the world's factory. Following the success of China, many developing countries and their leaders have looked to emulate China. Today, it stands as the largest economy in purchasing power parity terms. Its economic rise, however, is also multifaceted. On the one hand, it is building an international network of coercion through predatory economics, while on the other, it claims pulling out more than 100 million of its own people out of poverty. Its pursuit to expand the sphere of influence through economic maneuvering, weaponization of resource supply chains, financing large infrastructure projects with scant regard for environmental and safety standards, and straddling recipient countries with unsustainable debt are there for the world to see. Issues of concern also continue to exist in cases of theft of intellectual property rights, stealing trade secrets and technology from foreign companies, as also its unfair trade practices. China's technological pursuits have been characterized by systemic efforts to acquire technologies from the West. This also entailed aggressively luring or poaching scientists and researchers from the West with unrestricted funding offers. Consequently, today, China has established a vast lead in high-impact research across majority of emerging technology domains of defense, space, robotics, energy, biotechnology, AI, advanced materials, hypersonic systems, 6G, and quantum technology. For some of these domains, all of the world's top 10 lead research institutions are based in China and are collectively generating more high-impact research papers than any other country. China today is the world leader in patent applications. The Chinese, by virtue of being a totalitarian state, have given shape to an institutionalized civil-military ecosystem which aims to harness technology, knowledge, governance, and infrastructure to meet security requirements. With such tech-enhanced capabilities, China can and is accruing national security advantages for itself while posing a threat to its competitors and adversaries. China's economic transition and technological progression has given it the capability to emerge as a major military power. Concurrent to its military rise, its strategic doctrines too have seen various shades, from a war zone concept of fighting a limited war under high-tech conditions to the three warfares approach entailing public opinion, psychological warfare and legal warfare, and of late to that of an unrestricted warfare with conventional capacities being available to effect massive destruction of an adversary. The continued focus on technology and specifically AI into its military warfighting systems and doctrines is evident from the 19th Party Congress report. It urged PLA to accelerate the development of military intelligentization, entailing not only integrating AI into existing warfighting functions, but to use it to shape a new cognitive domain and revolutionize their approach to warfighting. This was also reflected in its 2019 Defense White Paper, which propagated fighting and winning intelligentized wars. In the response context, it is also prudent to recognize China's grey zone actions, which involve kinetic and non-kinetic forms of assertiveness and coercion